Executive presence is not something you wake up and say, no, people have to feel it. Negotiation is a process. I call it a highway approach. I have like 7 to 10 deals. So one is on the speed lane, one is on the slightly slow lane, and one is just joining. So there's how I'm able to balance them. Some of the lessons I learned having a structure in place.
What is Executive Connect?
Where we humanize leadership and pack who you are from your childhood.
You were at an airport, you saw a CEO, and you
upgraded
your
myself.
flight.
It was a flight to London. Oh, this is a guy. I've always wanted to meet this guy.
Frank Molla is a serial entrepreneur, a senior executive, and a man with an unrelenting thirst for knowledge. He is a champion for authenticity in society, a master negotiator, family man, and a firm believer in charting your own destiny. Pull up a chair, grab a coffee, or maybe a plate of Romo's finest, and enjoy the conversation. Welcome, Frank, to the Nitpicks podcast.
Asante, thank you for having me.
I'll just jump into it. Romo. What does Romo mean? You started this really successful restaurant called Romo House. What does Romo mean?
Yeah, but you say it with so much lowness in you, eh?
I try.
That's how it is pronounced. Romo. Romo. Well, Romo means meeting place.
Mm-hmm.
So in Luo, you'd sit and say, let's Romo at a certain place. Let's meet at a certain place. So Romo means a meeting place in Luo.
How did you get started with Romo?
With Romo?
Because you're not a restaurateur.
No, I'm not.
You're in the payment space. You've been in banking.
Yeah. So over 20 years in payments.
Yeah.
But serial entrepreneur. So I've been in the restaurant business for some time as a passive, side hustle business. There are a lot of lessons I learned from the first partnership I got into, which was a restaurant. And from those lessons, I picked and said, I still had passion for hospitality, for food, a place where people can just come and, have conversation, meet, connect. So those lessons I learned from the previous restaurants that I was running with my different partners. I mean, amazing people, but definitely some brilliant lessons, right? Cutthroat lessons. We lost money. And so I told myself, these lessons that I've learned from this partnership, what's my takeaway? A lot of people, what they do is they say, well, it didn't work. Let me close shop and move on. But I thought about it and I said, where do all these lessons go to? One thing I learned was partnerships is not my thing per se. And if you have to come in as a partner, then there's a way we really have to structure it. So that's how then Romo came in place, and I said, I'm going to do one by myself. And, actually one of the partners that I was with also helped me come up with the name. And that's how Romo started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how long has Romo been?
It's been 1.5 years now. We started in 2023, June, where we launched. And, we launched it with an executive from South Africa called Yimpini Mabunda. He was then the CEO for General Electric Southern Africa, but he has written a book called Take Charge. So we launched Romo with him plus his book in Kenya.
Romo is more known, Frank, for the Executive Connect.
Right.
If you were to ask most people who follow you on LinkedIn or who are big LinkedIn aficionados, we know Romo because of Executive Connect. It's the home of Executive Connect. How do you even get started with it? What is Executive Connect?
Executive Connect is a home where we humanize leadership.
What does that mean?
That's how we summarize it. But, I was part of this book club that started almost 7 years ago. And today we have over 7,000 men who are reading. A gentleman called Lawrence, came and said, hey, COVID, let's start something. And a number of us were among the first ones to join.
Men only?
Men only. So ladies came. And I think one of the advice they were told is, it's good if you start your own club. We're going to support you. And they did. And today they have close to 6,000 ladies who are also reading.
What I'm hearing is it's just you stay in your lane, leave us, If people want to do yours, do yours. What do you mean that it's good if you start
needed
yours?
our safe space as we read.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because the reading is a bit different. We pick different books. We are put in different WhatsApp groups of 15. Every month we pick a book. And the beauty is not even the reading. The beauty is the way people just open up during those sessions. The way people just come out and say, I read this book and this is what is happening to me now. Or these are the challenges I'm facing. And then we bring them to real life scenarios where we speak to it and say, okay, how can we apply? We don't read just for knowledge. We read to apply that knowledge and we share it together. So we are so much focused on how can we apply this, or who is applying this, or, it's very practical, extremely practical.
So the book club, so you start the book club, you're at 7,000 members. The women start theirs, they're at 6,000.
Yeah.
What's the connection with Romo?
Yeah, so remember when we launched Romo, we started with a book. And that was Nyimpini, the gentleman I've talked about. So that time, Executive Connect was not yet born, but I knew very well that Romo, based on the name, was going to be a meeting place, was going to be a place for meaningful connections and not a restaurant. So I needed to build a purpose for Romo. Then the restaurant and the rest would just follow, right? And so we started off with books. Then I asked myself sometime around, so that was in June, around September, how many authors can I host every month? And so I started thinking, because, we would have people coming in, I would host them and you'd have conversations. But then I would see, there is something about connecting people. And that's when Executive Connect name came about. And then I said, okay, Executive Connect, meaningful connections. This makes sense. And books slowly went into when I met Rispa and Anne, and the ladies were doing their annual book breakfast club. And I was invited to be the MC, the only gentleman, so many ladies. And in that, I told myself, wow, perfect opportunity to start Executive Connect in January. So I approached...
How? People are having a book club. You're the MC. I'm not... Just help me connect the dots, because
I'll take you back. In my career, the last 20 years, humbled enough to have had some senior roles, thrown into the deep end and, meeting executives, CEOs, sometimes, central bank governors, few presidents, and the exposure was, wow, this is amazing. But then every time I would meet these guys, they would be very specific on the places to meet, and there would be something somehow structured, and depending on the context, be it the country or the executive or the company, right? Are you a government official? I don't want to be seen like I'm getting any favor. So there was a number of things. So to summarize, the number of executives I met, be it from American Express, when I was in MasterCard, even to date, I picked, it's really lonely up there and the air gets so thin and they have very few friends.
And this would pick up from your business meetings?
Yeah, from business meeting, and every time, most deals are signed outside the office, so you'd go have coffee or dinner, but then you can pick even the line of conversation, so careful, so structured, but the moment they feel a level of trust, then they really open up. So this pattern kept on going, and I was telling myself, there is something here about executives that possibly we need to dig deeper. So there was a historical thing that was rolling in my mind. And during the book club, when I was doing that moderation, is when all that came back, and I said, wait a minute, even just talking to Anne and Rispa at that time, I was still feeling the same vibe I've been feeling. So Anne, we call Anne Muraya, we call her the general's daughter.
Okay.
In Connect, we don't call her the CEO of Deloitte.
Okay.
Rispa, we call her the girl who never cried. We don't call her Group CFO EABL, because we humanize leadership.
Okay.
And that's when all this came back. And I approached Anne and I said, hey, there's this thing we want to do and we want you to start. Honestly, I don't know how she accepted. Even when you hear, when you watch her video, she'd be like, I was a guinea pig. I don't know how Frank convinced me to do this, but I just did it.
And what is this? Why convince her to do
Executive Connect. So Executive Connect by Romo House is where we bring in executive top leaders in the industry, in their own space, to come and connect with other executives. So what that means is we humanize leadership. What does that mean? There's something we call root system and fruit system. When I look at you, Carol, today, most people look at Carol and say, oh my God, Carol is so lucky. You know where she is. She sits on these boards and she's been here. That's the fruit system. That is what we see. But do you know...
Above the ground.
Correct. But do you know where she stands? The root system.
Okay.
Do you know who really Carol is? And what you're seeing, you need to know that there's an outcome of what you're saying. So what we decided to do in Executive Connect is, even if you read the newspapers, when they profile, it's so high level. They really don't take you to the root system of somebody. So we said, fine, we are going to humanize leadership because these executives are the same as, they're humans. So what we do is we unpack who you are from your childhood to bring out everything that you went through that now culminates to who you are today.
But everyone has been a child and becomes an adult. So what's different about this? What's the pull? Why are your sessions packed with a waiting list?
I think it's people realizing authenticity, and there are things that we are lacking, today. I look at some of the leaders we've hosted, and even the way they appear today, they say the way they appear differently. I think we are natural, we are real. It's not scripted, it's not fake. And people yearn for genuine things, and people yearn for genuine leaders. And I think in that is where people feel that is where I belong. And actually, if Carol, if Anne Morai, if Rispa can really speak to this, what we are seeing with the executives who attend, they're also showing up differently. They're also feeling the sense of, these are the lessons I'm taking away. They're becoming so confident in themselves and realizing that actually I can connect with Carol as well. So I can also do it.
So they have an epiphany when they're sitting up
Correct.
there, because you I don't want to say you strip them naked, but you strip them back to their childhood, to their core values, what gets them going.
Yes.
They speak things. I've attended one or two, and you get them to open up in ways that they haven't been seen in the public domain.
If you think of Dilip, whom we call him the Knight, Dilip Hal,
You call him so?
CFO Safaricom, but we call him the Knight without armor. And if you listen, Dilip has never told his story anywhere. It was the first time he told his story at Executive Connect, and he's the one who taught us these are a safe living room. And he's the one who taught us the root system and the fruit system. Like what you guys do here is a root system. People just focus on the fruit system, but they don't know what's in the roots. So again, there's a sense of almost therapy, even for the speakers and the leaders who come. They also realize there are some things actually I need to go back in and really think about.
Yeah.
So it's just flowing by itself. That's the interesting bit about it. Yeah.
It's a remarkable success, but this is not the only successful. You're almost like a serial entrepreneur, as you said, actually, not almost, like you are a serial entrepreneur. You're a Roomba instructor, and you identify as a master negotiator. You have Romo House.
Yeah.
What else do you do?
So Roomba started, it's many years ago, when I was with MX, so based in Spain and UK. So every time I would come back, it was a bit lonely, because friends also somehow you detach a bit. Then somebody told me there's a gym and Visions Plaza then. So I attended the gym, but on the other side, I could hear music, and I love music. So I popped in, and guys were just dancing and being happy. And then I remember I'd gone to see my doctor, and he said, because you travel a lot, you need to get some kind of fitness thing to do to avoid blood clots every time you sit on the plane and you're doing long distance. I was like, so this is a thing. And that's how I started dancing. So I started dancing behind the class because I didn't know the move. And I kept on moving. And then eventually I said, no. The guy is called Jose. I said, Jose, I need to be on that stage. He said, cool, come for training when you're around. And that's why I started enjoying, and I became part of the instructors.
So you instruct Roomba classes until today?
Not as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But 2025 resolution is I'm going back.
Yeah.
But I've done it for the longest time.
You pack a lot into a day, Frank. You start off as a very proud father of 4 kids. You manage to you're the CEO of a digital payments firm.
Right.
You are a restaurateur.
Right.
You happen to have dinner every night at home by 7:30 with your family without fail.
Right.
How do you balance all of this? What's the inspiration behind everything that you do?
I think it's being intentional. Sometimes we're not 100% in all this, but the beauty of it is at least there's a structure. Even if it falls off a bit, but it's clear, there's a structure. And mostly the one for home, the family part. I realized I was a culprit. I'm traveling too much, I'm having meetings. And so I said, guys, let's do dinner by 7:30 every day. Everybody looks at me like, yeah,
right,
you're the one who will be breaking all this. But for me, what it helped me with is I was specific and intentional. If I couldn't have set a target for myself, then I would have not started working towards it. So the 7:30 really works. There are days when I fall off, but when I fall off, I have to call. And I have to tell them, guys, this is happening. There's a young one, Ryan, who if 7:30 and I'm not there, he calls, Dad, where are you? We are eating. How far? Okay, see you soon. And sometimes I feel somebody is trying to tell him, call him. Nevertheless, he's the one who calls. And so that works, and it's a culture we continue to build and just grow. If you think of the payment side, I think if you look at a day, because I wake up at 7, I'm not an early bird. But then if I look at my day, and I believe relationship is everything, even in business world, meaningful connections is everything. I really don't have to, wake up and go for meetings every day to close partnerships and deals and all that. And one thing about negotiations, which I'm trying to be a master negotiator, I was certified by Harvard and Strathmore as well. It's more, negotiation is a process. It never ends. And when you start, the consistency, if I want to do business with you, Carol, then I have to start from somewhere. And then I'll keep on starting with different, I call it a highway approach, where I'm talking to Carol, I'm talking to, Koi, so all these guys on the highway. But what happens is they tend to interchange depending on which conversation is moving faster. But at any given point, I have like 7 to 10 deals that I'm chasing at the same time, but they're all on the highway. So one is on the speed lane, one is on the slightly slow lane, and one is just joining. So there's how I'm able to balance them. But it's not by every day calling Carol, following through, no. I'm very intentional about the process, and I know negotiation is not a destination. It's a journey. And some take 1 year, some take shorter, but you just need to stick on that highway.
Have you applied this knowledge in your business?
Yeah. Yes. So if you look at, and even in the payment space, I delegate a lot, but with a microscopic kind of view. I'm still, what I do with my team is I open up and then they go in. Then I move to the next. So sometimes somebody will feel, oh, Frank, I see you a lot on Executive Connect, but in my target, I'm still on track with them. It's because I'm able to remove obstacles for my team from this level. Then I tell them, guys, go in now. So you might not see the back end part. Now, if you come to the restaurant, I've done the same thing, where some of the lessons I learned and, I brought to Romo was, having a structure in place. And I'm so unstructured myself, very unstructured. But now that's the beauty of bringing in structured people into your life. And I got a GM, I got an executive chef, I got an accountant, I got a procurement person, a
That's a lot of people.
And put in a lot of investments initially, because we always say in business, it does not, what do you say? It never goes wrong, it starts wrong.
What does that mean?
It just means when you start, by the time you start complaining when you're 1 year into it, it started wrong. It's too late. So it always starts wrong. It never goes wrong along the way. So when you're starting, you need to make sure you're well set up.
But those are high startup costs for a restaurant. Most people tend to be the GM, the storekeeper, they do everything. So you do have some level of, shall I say, depth of pocket to be able to start a restaurant with such senior personnel?
No, it's more, so my team, and possibly they'll be watching this as well, I sold a dream to them. I didn't sell a plan, I sold a dream. And I told them, I'm starting Romo, and it's not your typical restaurant. It will not be your usual restaurants where you walk in and food and no. There is a purpose for Romo, and it's going places. And, I laid down the dream and the vision. And, the GM came in and said, yeah, I subscribe to your dream, so let's start it. We've had our low moments, but they're still there because they're tied to the dream of Romo. And I believe they see what's happening in Romo today, the executive connect part, bringing leaders. They attend all those sessions. Most of them are parents, most of them are, and I think they also get a lot of lessons from what we do. So it's not just coming in as a GM and that's it. They also pull in a lot of value from it. So there's a dream. They are tied into this dream that I have. And every day I just pray like, you know what, guys, the dream is still there and we're still moving.
But they're delivering.
They're delivering.
Yeah.
They're delivering.
Frank, I met you at Strathmore Business School, where you were feted as the most, how do I think? Yeah, you've attended every leadership course at Strathmore Business School. If there's a course to do, you'll do it.
Yeah.
And yet you didn't go to university. You've gone to the University of Life and succeeded.
Yeah.
And you take up whatever you can learn and you go out and say, I don't know, I want to learn. Yeah. So what I've heard you say often is that charting your destiny is your choice, a choice.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that? And how did you chart yours?
We also call it the roadside MBA. It's but that question, and the degree conversation, I always tell guys, I've done a number of interviews about it, and now I say, guys, this one now we have to pack it because we already made certain decisions in life. And the reason I say there are choices that were made for you, but there are choices you have to make for yourself is because I never chose where I was born. I was born in Kariobangi South. K-South, that's it. One of the best places, memories ever. We had the most fun there. I never chose my parents. I never chose my neighbor. I never chose where I went to school then. There are just so many things in life that we can't choose because we find ourselves there. But once all that is said and done, where you're going is 100% your choice, because at some point you have to leave home and you have to charter your own path. So with that realization, I came and realized, wait a minute, and mostly when I went to Aga Khan Uni, and it's like, wow, there's a different life out here. But I didn't take it like I lacked or anything else. It challenged me in a way and appreciated all of us here in Aga Khan.
Aga Khan High School.
Aga Khan High School.
Okay.
We never chose where we were born. We just found ourselves there. But here in class, we are all equals, but where we are going will be our own definition. So I always believe that, it's important for us to realize that so that you have clarity on where you're going. And that now ties to the choices I made in life. High school and, I didn't get a chance to go to uni like you rightfully said. But then later I'm telling myself, you know what? There's a roadside MBA. You can learn, you can read books, you can do all these things. And the first time I came to Strathmore, I did the master negotiator. One of the best courses I did. And that triggered a lot of things. So I got curious. Executive courses, what else do you guys do? And then after that is when I quickly did Harvard, because I also had a course on negotiation. So that's how I became a certified master negotiator. Then I kept on following both Harvard and Strathmore. And Strathmore had another course. Then I said, wait a minute, since I'm growing in my career, I think I need this. And I came back and I did a SMLP, Senior Management Leadership Program. And the beauty is, and that's what I call lean learning. You learn on the spot and you apply it there and then. Because you're given projects and, action plans, and you go and implement immediately. So you're on the go. And it really helps. So that's how I did, almost all the courses. There's one more, which I'll hopefully be doing next year, GCEO, I think. Then I'll have ticked my box with Strathmore.
And you pay for yourself?
I pay for myself, 100%.
So you're now investing heavily in your own education.
And I think this is what most people don't realize, in my view, is your employer will do this much, but your career is in your own hands. There's training that is done, employers do trainings, but if you don't invest in your personal growth and exposing yourself to the world, then, you'll be left behind. So deliberately, every time I go to a class and I see signs of people who've been paid for by their organizations, they miss class, they're having on their phones all the time.
100%.
And I can tell, well, it's not your money. For me, I'll be there busy, typing those quotes, typing those conversations and all that, because you've paid quite a good chunk of money to attend this class.
You've got skin in the game.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me moving, learning and absorbing so much. And even now, I know next year, I told Shadrach, our good friend, I'll be coming for GCEO next year. It's because this year
GCEO?
Global CEO Program.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know much about it, but I think it's exciting because when I look at the testimonials of the previous speakers and the exposures of where they go to, the network, and I think this is what people don't really get.
And that's what I'm trying to get to. Why do you do this? Okay, there's that, yes, you get some education.
Right.
But if I'm watching this and I'm watching Frank and I'm like, should I buy a house? Should I buy a car? Should I pay for a course at Harvard or Strathmore? What has it done for you? Why should I pay for
Learning
a course?
just never ends. And I think for me, the moment I started updating my LinkedIn on Harvard and Strathmore, employers just get attracted, number one. The last time I applied for a job was Barclays in 2007. After that, the rest were just come to date.
So employers come to you because of your profile.
It's a profile. I think I would also ask, why do you want to hire me? And they would say, we see your background, we see your profile, we see your network, we see your connection. But to me, that is what the lean learning continues to do to me, because you learn things differently. You're taught how to connect, you're taught how to network, you're told how to be interesting and with a lot of content. Like when I met my good friends Anne and Rispa, they kept on saying, Frank, you must have content and you must be interesting. If you don't invest on knowledge or in knowledge, it will be hard for you to have content. Because if you need to have conversations at a certain level, Rispa calls it, you must have impeccable English.
Kisungu mingi.
But also just how you show up.
Yeah.
Things like people talk about executive presence and all that. It's executive presence is not something you wake up and say, no, people have to feel it. But through
so it's not just your dressing.
No, it's not. You can be the smartly dressed person, but you walk into a room, but there's no respect whatsoever, And this is the beauty of learning every day. You get to learn a lot of things. It's continuous. It builds you every day. And eventually for me, I came and said, well, I learned that maturity is not about how old you are. You can be very young, but exposing yourself to education and learning, you can mature very fast and know a lot of things.
One of the things you told me once, Frank, was that you were at an airport, you saw a CEO you'd been wanting to meet, and you paid to upgrade your flight. Again, maxing out your credit card just so that you could be in business class, because that's where the deals happen.
And it was a flight to London, British Airways. I'm flying economy.
From Nairobi.
And I'm like, oh, this is a guy. I've always wanted to meet this guy. But so he went, checked in, then I went and asked, oh, we're going to London? Okay. Seated where? Business? Can I upgrade? They say, yes, you can. So they showed me where to go and pay. I paid, and deliberately they put me next to him because, it was very targeted. Because I told myself, I'm going to have 8 hours appointment with this guy.
What if he wants to sleep? You realize that what a big chance you were taking here.
But you see what happens is, when you're taking these long flights, unless somebody just walks in and covers themselves, and rarely that happens. So my fingers were crossed. Yes. And it's all about also, I'm a very big risk taker.
Yes.
And they tend to have high risk, high returns. Mm-hmm. So we boarded and, seated next to him, and I said, oh, hi, how are you? I say, hi, how are you? And there's nobody else. It's like there were 4 of us in business class. So when we were airborne, and I went on saying, oh, my name is Frank, I do this. And he gave me like 2 hours before we all slept. We landed and we walked together to the immigrations, and we are all in business. So we are going to fast track all of us.
Did you manage to get his number?
Yes, I got the contacts. But for me, was that 2 hours is also what do you do with it? And then that's what I'm saying. The beauty of investing in yourself and the beauty of surrounding yourself with good networks. Like for me, Executive Connect, the leaders have been exposed to it. It's amazing, right? So you end up having the right level of confirmation of conversations, because you keep on learning every day and it keeps on exposing you. I mean, I could have conversations when you now meet, CEOs and say, when I was in Nigeria, when I was in Singapore, and this is what I learned, and you can relate to some conversations. But if you don't learn, then somebody will ask you one question. You wanted to meet me? Yes, I'm here. You'll freeze.
Then you blank out.
Yeah, you'll freeze.
So what do you use as a tip? Because I get a lot of questions of, how do I engage in small talk at an executive level? What tips can you give to somebody who's going for a cocktail? They have to market their company or market themselves. What should they say? So first I'm hearing is impeccable English.
Yeah, you must speak well. Yes, don't talk too much. I'll give you an example. Harvard was hosting a dinner here, and a number of us were called, and there was this very senior CEO, and there was this young lady who really wanted to meet the CEO. And from a networking perspective, you don't wait for permission. You need to pick your cue and see the right time just to go in. And the best way is when people are having a conversation, just go stand next to them. You can say hi, and then hi when they're flowing with the conversation, depending. You have to gauge. And then flow a bit with what they're saying. If it's a topic you understand, then you can contribute to that topic. Then you can bring in your conversation at the same time, because we are networking. It's not an appointment. So this lady kept on telling the CEO, hi, I've always wanted to meet you. She's across the table, but the executive is talking to somebody else. She's like, hi. So the executive said, but I'm here.
Okay, see, shoot your shot.
I am here.
Yes, shoot your shot.
What the executive decided to do was, I'll mentor her bit. So this conversation ended, and the executive said, please come sit next to me here, and I'm here. Tell me. She was blank.
Oh, what a wasted opportunity.
But I like what she did.
Yes.
She went ahead and told her, just join the conversation.
The executive role, like just join the
conversation.
All right.
Because we're talking about general stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about certain topics. We're talking about just join. But you see, you can't join if you don't have content.
Indeed. Or if you can't be able to step up to
and
the
you can't
plate.
step up.
One of the things I advise people is always ask. It's always a nice thing to ask.
Yeah.
What book are you reading?
Yeah.
I read books. What book are you reading?
Correct.
It's even if you don't read books,
Yes.
it's a conversation.
It starts.
Yeah.
It starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
So like this year, all the executives I hosted last year, I asked you the books you're reading.
You did.
And, you know, everybody told me I'm reading, and I was looking at these books. I'm like, wow, they diverse. But those books have formed my reading for 2025. So my next LinkedIn post will be the executives I met last year. This is what they're reading this year. And I want to know, why are they reading these books? It takes me into their minds, what they think, you know, the kind of books they read also tells me a bit about them. When I meet them, I'll be like, yo, that book you recommended, I love that book big time. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a conversation. And
you know, I showed you some of the books. One of the books I'm reading is The Sex Lives of African Women. So I don't know what you'd think about me. It's a very good book.
We'll talk about it. When we meet, we'll be like, yeah, I got a copy and let's talk about this. It's a topic of interest.
It is.
It's you just need to be interested enough also in what these executives are doing, what they're reading, you know, what keeps them up at night. And once you have something, because you don't know when you're going to meet them. And that's why elevator pitches are usually hard for people. Yeah. Because you've met somebody who you've been idolizing, but you just don't have content for it. You should just sit and say, wow, that interview you did was brilliant. Or I saw your engaged session. Oh my goodness.
All right, let me test you, Frank. Who's the CEO you'd like to meet? Let's hear your elevator pitch.
What do you mean?
Yeah, no, we're going to test it. Right? You said that you're challenging people. Let's see the elevator pitch. So, Sam Sudar, all right? And I'm on a Emirates flight.
Right.
All right? We meet in the business club lounge.
Right.
Okay? He's probably on first class.
All right.
But we're meeting in the lounge.
Yes.
All right? Yes. So, shoot your shot.
Well, I mean, the first thing I would be, oh, hi. I'll go say hi to him. And then I would say, well, I was born in the Google era, you know, searching and doing all the search engines. But every time I read about AI, I'm just trying to understand, you know, what's Google's position? Because there's a lot of conflicting information that, you know, AI and the way the narrative is going around the world, Google is not going to be no more. But these are just speculation. But it was just nice to hear your views about that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what I've heard you say is you've gone straight into a topic that's quite relevant today.
To him.
And to him,
yes,
specifically.
Because it's a conversation going on.
Yeah.
And guys would say, oh, Google search is dead, or this is happening. And But then later, of course, you know, there's a lot of things that they're also doing. Because somebody says, if I go to ChatGPT and I type something, it gives me the specific, then Google gives me a general, many links to that topic.
Yes.
Then I'm like, how? I mean, it's people are talking about ChatGPT so direct and it's going straight to, while Google is, I don't know what your thoughts on that. But it's because something I read.
Yeah.
It's because something I saw people in the industry are speaking about.
Okay.
But I would have not had the courage to approach him if I was not reading, learning, exposing myself to certain things.
What do you read to keep current?
Yo, man, I read, it's general, it's diverse. I read books. I read books on negotiations. I read books on leadership. I read books on, you know, strategy. You know, but then this year, what I've decided to do is, like I told you, is I said, let me pick what these executives are reading. Then let me see if it will change. And that's why I got some interesting books. And I'm like, wow, I would have never read this, but let me read it just to understand this specific, so I'm contextualizing them and just appreciating what they do. So I have Nudge, the book now. I have, you know, The Diary of a CEO. And all this is what the different executives are telling me to read, the ones that you recommended as well. I've not started actively reading yet, but from Feb is when now I'll activate my reading for this year.
So, Frank, As we come towards the tail end of this podcast, we've introduced a segment called Nitpicks on the Quick. I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and I want you to just say exactly what comes to mind. Don't be afraid. But just speak whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. Early riser or sleeping on weekends?
Sleeping on weekends.
Text or phone call?
Text.
Cooking a meal or ordering takeout?
Cook.
Mountains or the beach?
The beach.
Favorite Kenyan dish?
Chapati.
Just look
I
at
don't
the
know
way
if
you
it's,
put it.
I don't know if it's Kenyan, but it's chapati.
One thing you always carry with you?
Wow. My phone.
Okay. What's your go-to stress reliever?
Wow. I think it's dancing.
Rumba?
Yeah, it's dancing. That's the one thing that really, you just feel nice. It's I mean, I've never drank or whatever, but it gives me some high.
Oh, you don't drink?
No, never.
Okay.
Never started, yeah.
Never started?
Never started.
All right. So do you dance at home? Do you go to the club?
Yeah.
You
I don't go to
pump
the
up
club
the
as well.
jam?
I went to the club when I was 24. The first time I went out and I slept. That was days of F2, Florida 2000. I slept and I was kicked out by the bouncer because you're not supposed to sleep. And since then,
How do you fall asleep at F2 though?
I don't know. I just
You were
felt
bored.
guys are drinking and there's some activity happening. I'm like, yo, what's the fun here? I can't say it. So I slept in the couches and I was thrown out then. So I really don't hang out. I don't go out.
And
as
you never
much.
went back again?
No. I would just have, if I go out, we've met having conversation maybe up to 10, 11, but not 20 out, 20. No.
Most inspiring place you've ever visited?
Wow. I think this was some place in Madrid when I was in Spain. Yeah, it's just seeing how people cherish animals and they're so kind to animals and they walk them every day in the evening. I'm like, wow, this is just different and unique. So that's something I saw for the first time, and every day in the evening, all sorts of animals, all sorts, anything you can think about. And they're so patient with them, so kind.
Like an orphanage.
It's like an orphanage, but the whole city, people are just walking animals.
Oh. Yeah. Read the book or watch a movie?
Read the book, but also movie. But any day would find me with a book, one or two. But also I watch specific movies, negotiation kind of movies. And I rewatch movies as well. Because what I realized also is when you watch a movie for the first time, the first 5 minutes is where the message is. By the time it ends, you ask yourself, but how did this? If you watch the movie again, it really sinks. So books any day, but I also watch movies when I get the time. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Frank, it's been a great pleasure having you at the Nitpicker podcast. Asante sana. Let me give a shout out to your chef. I ate I think it's like a mushroom burger at your place, and it was fantastic.
Asante.
He's a great chef.
Chef Angela is amazing.
Yeah, great food.
She is.
Great. Asante sana.
Asante.
Frank Molla bumps up his ticket to meet his destiny. And when he's not doing that, he's jumping out of a plane and hoping his parachute opens. From running a restaurant to climbing the proverbial executive ladder, to creating a safe space where executives can be themselves, to negotiating his way through life, even when he'll be late for dinner. Frank learns by doing, and then believing there's a lesson in everything. He takes those lessons and runs with them. We hope you've been inspired to humanize the leader next to you, and to, yes, craft your elevator pitch. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories of incredible people doing incredible things.